In today's video, we're gonna make my Lexus great again. I got a new transmission for it. I got the old engine that was originally in it, and I got the clutch out of my Supra. I also have a couple other things off camera to get this thing running, hopefully real quick and easy, because I want to sell it. So follow along, let's get this put in. Okay, the first order of business here is to get the Supra flywheel installed. If you don't know, the Lexus IS300 from the factory comes with a dual mass flywheel. So the flywheel itself is sprung where your clutch is not. I guess it's an okay setup because, you know, it's a luxury car, but the Supra clutch is a pretty cheap and easy upgrade. So I have one laying on the shelf, so that's what I'm going to use. Now some of you might be looking at this clutch and saying, you know, I'm crazy to put a used clutch in here, but this thing has 55,000 miles on it, and it was fine in my Supra, so it should be fine in the Lexus. You do have to use the flywheel bolts from the Supra, as the IS300 flywheel is a little bit longer. You also have to change the clutch push rod when you use this flywheel. About a year ago, somebody listed a IS300 manual engine harness for sale locally, and I bought it. I didn't have any need for it whatsoever, but I knew that these things are kind of hard to find, so I picked it up and threw it on the shelf. And now it's paying off because I had modified the original engine harness for this engine, so I can just slap this on there and not have to put it back to stock. Okay, got a lot of stuff plugged in over here. I believe this right here is the camshaft sensor. It's my biggest gripe with buying used car parts is you never know what you're gonna get and stuff like that. In this case was not disclosed to me. Just another example of buying used parts in my experience. Bought this W55, $600, and I mean, it's kind of my fault. I didn't notice it when I bought it, but the dude took off the trans mount. Like, well, what is the purpose of taking this off? It's pretty much garbage in my opinion. Should stay with the transmission, but luckily I had the old trans. I thought I could do this with the hood on the car, but I thought wrong. So let me pull that off there. I think the clip might have cut off, and of course I'm going to be speeding that up, but this thing fought me really hard. I'm not sure what I was doing wrong. I put engines in cars before and it's usually not that hard even by yourself, but this really fought me. I was getting very frustrated there at the end, but it's in the car. I think I'm gonna call it quits and pick this back up tomorrow. This car is 18 years old. It has 200,000 miles on it. And it's really, really clean on the underside for the age and miles. It's part of the reason I don't want to sell it. Here in Ohio, you can't find one in this sort of shape, very easily at least. This car actually came from Alabama, so it didn't have salt all over it every winter like most of them do here. All right, I'm gonna throw the drive shaft in it, and I actually have the stock mid pipe to put back in the car. Copper RTV, I've had good luck with this previously. And I will say there are old gaskets on here. I don't know if I would trust this with no gasket. Well, I didn't record it, but I just got the power steering pump on it. I don't know if I mentioned it, but one of the things that made this so hard to put in the car was the AC compressor, because it was still in the car. And when I was putting the engine in, it was really a fight to get that where it needed to be and then to get it to mount up to the engine. But it's done now. I had 2 Gates belts laying around. I don't know if this is the right belt, but you're about to find out with me, because they're both different part numbers, but I'm pretty sure they both came off of 2JZs. So I think that's the wrong belt. Seems too tight. Man, the tensioner on this engine is really hard to move. Okay, I think that is the correct one. Not sure what that other belt I have goes to. Okay, the radiator can go in now. This is a Koyo radiator that was in this car when I bought it. And this car was completely stock when I bought it. Now, I think that's great. Super nice radiator. Just disappointed, but the Supra takes a different size. They're not interchangeable between the 2 cars, so it's gonna have to go with the car. When I did the GTE swap on this car, I probably could have ran the intercooler piping down here, but it wasn't the most straightforward, so I cut a 3.5-inch hole and ran it through here, which I was definitely nervous about cutting because nobody wants a big giant hole in their car. But as you'll see, when I put the stock intake back in the car, you can't even really notice that it's there, which I didn't even think about as I was cutting the hole. Okay, it's a new day here. Overnighted some parts from Japan. Got a new fuel pump and the associated hanger since I modified the stock one. And I also have a new fuel line and throttle cable that cost me $105, and I threw the old ones in the garbage like an idiot. So if you ever think you're gonna put your car back to stock, don't throw away the little things, because they definitely add up. Just one more part for your enjoyment. $60 from Chase Base for a clutch line, because I cut the clutch line in anticipation of changing to a T56 Magnum. So don't recommend doing that. Going to go ahead and swap out that fuel pump hanger. Hopefully you can see me. It's super dark in this car. Has 20% window tint, which I have very mixed feelings about because it looks really cool, but it's also impossible to see out at night. This also has a aftermarket fuel pump in it. I'm sure somebody will actually buy this so they don't have to modify theirs. Quite a bit of gas coming out of this. Man, it is really flowing. It is just pouring out of the return for some reason. It's like it started a siphon. Okay, it's letting up. Wow, Lot of gas came out of that. Damn. Pretty good puddle there. Wasn't anticipating that much to come out. This car's, I guess I parked it on a full tank. Right now I'm pulling the feed line, which should also probably make a huge mess. Remember correctly, it's kind of tricky to get this out of here because of the fuel level sender. There's also a hose you have to take off of it because this is like a saddle tank setup, and it has a siphon valve to pull fuel from one side to the other. So that siphon valve I was just talking about, it broke off of my pump assembly and it's down in there. This is the new assembly. My memory card filled up, so I got the new fuel hanger in the car. It's all buttoned up. Now I need to take off where I adapted the factory fuel line to an AN line. I did this before I had a car lift, and I really struggled getting the factory fitting off down on the ground underneath it with not great leverage on it. And doing so, these threads got boogered up pretty bad. So you're gonna see me using a pipe wrench. I think it's really my only option to get this thing off there. I specifically remember when I put this fitting on there, it wanted to leak, and I put this on there as tight as I could. Okay, everything that I think needs to be hooked up to at least just try to start it is hooked up, so let's see what happens. Don't see any massive leaks. Sounds super weird. Car seems to be running fine. My used transmission feels good so far. I'm not getting on it real hard because it's not up to temp. This car has a Greddy catback on it, but it's like hilariously quiet. It's nearly stock level of quiet. These W55s, they have a horrible reputation for reliability, but they are a super nice shifting transmission, at least in my experience. Of other cars that I've driven, it's one of my favorite. It's just a real nice positive engagement. Not very fast. Car seems to really want to buck whenever I come off the throttle.